Hey, racing fans, Scott Shapiro and Mike Beer here to preview one of the bigger 2-year-old stakes races this weekend. It's the Grade 2 Jessamine, 2 turns on the turf at Keeneland, and we're going to dive into the big race, or one of the big races on the Friday card at Keeneland in just a moment. But before we do, wanted to let you know or remind folks about the Off the Track podcast. Gino Bacola, who you all know from this channel, our colleague, hosted each and every week. And he's had some really cool guests on already. Miguel Clement, the most recent guest, Emma Jane Wilson, Mark Cassie with some Canadian influence there. You've got Kendra Carmouche. So plenty of good ones to go back to and plenty of good things to come. And good reason to subscribe to the channel as well. It's here available on the YouTube channel as well as anywhere you find podcasts. I like to listen to it on Spotify, but the Off the Track podcast with Gino Bacola and a guest each week, definitely worth checking out. Mike, Jessamine, a Grade 2 race, mile and a 16th on the turf. And as you can see, we've got more than a full field here. 12 can go. There's 14 listed. And 11 different trainers have won this race, Mike, over the last 11 years. You don't see that very often in this day and age, maybe any day and age. I don't know. But last year, Joseph Lee and Mayday Ready. But good field, real good field, actually. But I think we're going to have a prohibitive favorite.
Yeah, we probably are. But you're right. It's a really good field. Just feels like there's a lot of talent here. They're so lightly raced, Scott. So it's hard to really get a handle, I think, on how good some of them are going to be. But just based on what we've seen so far, I think there's some real talent in here. It's a big field. Trips will be important, especially because they're so lightly raced 2-year-old fillies. And you also think, and this is maybe just me, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but there's so much Kentucky Downs form in this race that I think it really adds another layer to this. Of the 11 in the main body, every single filly in here, save the morning line favorite from post 12, their last start was at Kentucky Downs. So I think that adds another little wrinkle to this race.
It does. It makes it tough, the unique configuration there. Some of the races, while they might look the same on paper in terms of the condition, can play much differently. I know you and David were talking about that on the Miss Griot, I think, Stakes podcast, Stakes preview. But yeah, it's hard. You got to dive in to know the quality of those races. You can't really just judge by the purse. But let's take a look at the pace projector. And I think, as you might suspect, in a race with young horses, a lot of them probably do their best running on the lead early in their career. And then you have the fact that several of them are stretching out for the first time, that it looks like the pace will be honest too fast, and the projector sees it as such. How about you?
Yeah, the pace, it's just really tough for me to decipher paces and race like this, just because it's such a big field of lightly raced horses, and there are some stretch outs in here too. I guess they'll probably be going at least a solid clip here. I, kind of totally disagree that the number 3, Caroline's going to be the pace setter this time. Maybe she will be. She's exiting a fast-paced race in her turf debut, but I really don't think the plan with her is going to be to send her off to the front. We'll see.
I probably agree with that between Ryder. I think she just gets out of the gate really well, which is a positive. It doesn't necessarily mean she's going to be on the lead in a race like this. All right, let's start with the field, starting with number 1, Lit Ship. It's been a great year for trainer Joe Sharp. He's won it over 20%, almost 500 starters, I think 22% when I last looked. And he's got a filly here that's bred to sprint, has sprinted in 2 starts thus far, really hasn't run a bad race, 2 outside posts, moves inside now. And as you mentioned, one of several coming in from a Kentucky Downs race where she won and she was expected to win.
It's a great post position for her as she stretches out for the first time, especially when you sort of see the speed that she showed in her most recent start there, much improved speed in her second start. I don't know about you, Scott. I like both of her races. To me, listen, she was defeated by a really good horse, I think, in her debut. And I also think that it's easy to argue that Lit Ship ran the best race that day and probably should have won. It was just really unlucky. Obviously, she bounced back and just totally dominated a field of maidens at Kentucky Downs last time on the lead. We'll see what kind of price she goes off at. But I feel like she's one of the horses that you have to take a pretty long look at in here. I think she can really run.
Me too. And so can number 2, Mackinac, who has proven that in both of her starts thus far. Rusty Arnold, one of those 11 trainers. He won this in 2018 with Concrete Rose. And this filly looks like she's got a real good chance here. She draws along the inside on her debut. She lost to a good filly, and you could argue again that she ran as well. If you take a look at that now, she didn't get out of the gate very well that day and kind of followed Snowface Princess around the track. around the turf course. And then Kentucky Downs, she was dominant when she was supposed to be. Mackinac gets Luis Saez back up.
I liked her debut a lot. First of all, I think that was a really good race overall in her debut, and she just looked like a first-time starter who needed a start there, even though she got better. She didn't break that well. She was sort of running in spots in that race, and then really finished up pretty well, I thought, to get second last time. She obviously took a step forward. We just saw the replay there, a huge finish there from off the pace to just run those horses over. I will say, listen, they brought her back for her second start, big purse. She faced obviously allowance horses, even though she was a maiden. I don't want to cold water this filly, Scott, because I think she's really, really good. I would just point out that even though she beat, several other winners in that race that we just watched right there, it was mostly dirt horses. The horses that were winners in that race, they were all dirt horses. So I don't think she necessarily beat a specifically good field last time. I still like the way that she did it. I think she's really good.
I have a hard time disagreeing with any of that. Definitely the ones to beat in here. As we move to a bigger price, who I know you're giving a bit of a look in here, in number 3, Carolyn Caroline. Trainer Lindsay Schultz does not win a lot at first asking. In fact, not hardly at all. That wasn't the case, though, with this filly, who was scheduled to race over the sod, but the race came off the slop. She won anyway at 6.5 to 1. And then she came back and showed the lead in that Kentucky Downs untappable 6.5 furlongs. So she'll be stretching out to 2 turns for the first time here. And you mentioned it in the pace projector. She's projected to be on the lead, but we don't necessarily think that's the case.
Yeah, we'll see how they decide to ride it this time. I mean, I just going back and watching the Untappable last time. It just, to me, it didn't look like Leparoux wanted her to be on the lead, but she just sort of wound up there and on the rail. And it turned out to be actually a fast-paced race, a race that went to closers too. And she just wound up contesting it and got a little tired at the end. I didn't think she ran great in there, but I didn't think she ran poorly. And I just don't think that's the trip she wants. You mentioned her debut. She was meant for turf that day. You can go back and watch the replay of that, Scott. She could have, you mentioned she's a good gate horse. She breaks really alertly. She could have made the lead that day, but they didn't want it. They just let a bunch of horses go. She got shuffled back. She had to wait for room in the stretch, and she really ran once she got to see him. I was really taken with her debut. I think she ran better than it looks in the Untappable last time. I don't mind her stretching out in distance for this. She's probably going to be a price in here. I don't know. I just think there's a lot to like about this filly. We'll see how good she is.
Going to be a big price, almost without question. Number 4, Aggressive Lime. We'll definitely won't be as big of a price. We'll see 8 to 1 on the morning line here for this Daughter of Authentic that was hammered in a 10-horse field at Kentucky Downs on August 28th. We'll take a look at that race here. The Brad Cox trainee. Brad, obviously very capable of winning races at Kentucky Downs, won a bunch of them, winning a lot of money here. I had a hard time kind of figuring out what to make of this race. She won it easily. She was supposed to, but it was one of those maiden specials at Kentucky Downs where I'm just not sure how that stacks up with a field of winners like this in the Jessamine and then the favorite as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, to me, all the Kentucky Downs races, whether they're good or bad performances, I'm not really sure how to evaluate them. I just looked at this filly. First of all, they pounded her in her debut. And listen, maybe it just wasn't a very good field. I guess that remains to be seen. I liked the way that she won it, Scott. She had speed. They just put her right up, sat there, waited till the quarter pole, and as soon as Gaffalione asked her to go, I thought she buried that field with a really good finish. I was taken with the visual. Obviously, this is a way tougher test, but I think you might also get a better price this time, and I'm not sure she's overmatched in here.
Good points all around. Flavian Pratt will be aboard here as we go to number 5, Rose Room, one of the longer shots on the board. Cross-entered in the Miss Griot in New York, one of 2 in here, but one of them was on the also eligible list. And this is a filly that's gone 2 turns throughout her career thus far, winning at Delaware Park in just a 6-horse field. She was supposed to win. She was sent off at 6 to 5. She hasn't shown speed in either of her starts, including last out in the Juvenile Fillies. $1 million race. I don't think it was $1 million in quality that day, Mike. But Rose Room finished 4th in a blanket finish there. She's one that I think is probably up against it if she runs in this spot.
Just gonna, she's really up against it as far as trip. I mean, listen, maybe that pace projector's right, and the pace would be really fast, and that will really benefit her because she just hasn't shown any speed. And when you watch both of her races, too, it just takes her a while to really kick into gear in the stretch. On her debut, she got through on the rail, but she wasn't even really running until the final 16th of that race. And then she just sort of blew by those horses last time too. Took her a while to get into gear. She was gaining late ground, but that's the kind of race that, everybody was gaining late ground in there. The winner was gaining late ground. The runner up, who's back in this field, was 75 to 1, and she was making up late ground in there. And Rosen just couldn't quite get there. The trip is just going to be way too important for her, Scott. So you have to get a big price on her. But maybe you'll get one. She's 20 to 1 on the line.
You should get a good price if she opts for this spot. Definitely bred to go the distance that she has been. On the other hand, number 6, Victor Help Me, will try 2 turns for the first time. But this is a daughter of Authentic that has pedigree on both sides to believe that the stretch out won't be an issue. But to me, the question is, is she good enough? Is she classy enough? I mean, her only win came in a maiden optional claimer that was washed off at Ellis Park. She's tough for me.
Yeah, she's just hard to make any kind of coherent case for, I think. I mean, didn't really improve enough on turf last time for my liking, but she's a really big price in here if you like her.
Speaking of big prices, number 7, Diablo Shiraz, for wine fans out there, I presume. Daughter of Daredevil. This one had to drop into a restricted maiden special weight at Kentucky Downs. Those are still $100,000. I wish I had a horse that fit in there. Took advantage of that. They faced the open company likes at Ellis on debut at 60 to 1. She's been good to the bettors thus far, especially if you keyed her for 4th in the Super first out. But man, she looks up against it.
Yeah, I don't know about this race. I mean, listen, she's 50 to 1 on the line. I like her a lot more than I like some of the other big prices on the line in this race. That doesn't mean I'm going to bet her in here. I thought her debut was fine. Didn't get a great trip in that race, but ran late and obviously took a step forward last time. I don't know if she took a big enough step forward.
Well, she was beaten by number 8, Loveliest, in that first start. And I have a question about that field in general. I thought the horse that finished second 9 consecutive terms was a likely winner. Next out at 9 to 5 at Churchill and ran kind of an underwhelming third. But Loveliest dominated the field at Ellis that day. And then she was hammered in that juvenile fillies race that we were discussing. And maybe, she didn't have the greatest trip. I don't know really how it stacks up or how she stacks up in here, but you get Tyler Gaffleone back aboard at it's a potential big price.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I took a long look at her, Scott, just because it does feel like after taking a lot of money in her first 2 starts, that maybe she sort of gets ignored this time. The figures aren't really there. But I personally really liked her debut. I thought she did a lot of good things in that race, and it's not like she got an absolutely perfect trip in that race. She got to sit on the rail behind the lead, but she sort of had to squeeze through there. And then I just thought she really finished it off impressively when she got room. I don't know what to make of her last race. I mean, I watched that replay, I don't know, several times and feel like she had trouble in the stretch, just sort of right around the 8th pole, got between horses, maybe bumped a little bit there. I just don't know if she had any running left to do at that point. To me, it's a really hard call. But if she's going to be 15 to 1 or higher in this race, I'm probably going to try to find a way to use her because I think she might be okay.
Yeah, that's probably how you want to approach this filly, price sensitive, because a little bit of an unknown after that last race. Number 9, Infinite Sky, is one that, based on the morning line, I think might be an underlay in here. We'll see if she's 5 to 1, but she was beaten on the square. I thought, beaten out of the gate, but I thought she had every shot to run well on August 3rd in a favorable race shape for her, and she just was out kicked by a couple of horses. And then last time out, she was 80 cents on the dollar in a 12-horse race. Not one of the better Kentucky Downs races. I'm not in love with her chances.
Yeah, especially as you pointed out at the price. I mean, there are so many interesting horses in here that I don't think you want to settle for, too short a price on anyone. And maybe particularly with this filly, I think both of her races are fine. But like you, I wasn't, blown away by her either time. And I think there's this field, there's a lot of quality in here. I don't think I'd be settling for 5 to 1 on a horse like her.
Number 10, Red Beretta, won't be 5 to 1, will be a much bigger price, has been at least 22 to 1 or higher in 4 of the 5 starts. The one win did come when shipping in the Horseshoe Indianapolis in a 2-turn, 7.5 furlong race at even money. But she was the one that you spoke of, Mike, that was coming running at 75 to 1 last out. And this is a low-profile barn, but they're 21% with very limited starters this year, and they've been very good to wager on. Is there any way she can get into the mix here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. I mean, she did last time anyway. And listen, it's not like when you go back and watch that race. And listen, again, it was a race that closers, I think they were really helped by the flow of that race. But it's also at least worth pointing out that Red Beretta, was wide around the track and very wide on the turn and kept coming through the stretch in that race. I mean, I'm not really in a position here, I don't think, to sit here and knock her at another really big price because she ran fine last time. I know she didn't get a figure when she broke her maiden, but that's really the only other turf round. She won that day too.
Yeah, big price for sure. Outside posts, as we'll talk about here, moving to number 11, Imagination. The lady are a little bit of a concern. This is a filly that won right towards the front end on debut again at Kentucky Downs, was 2 turns, first out for Brendan Walsh. Flavian was aboard that day. It'll be Frankie Dettori aboard this time out. You know, it's one of those horses that I just don't think she's fast enough to make the lead. So she's going to have to provide some sort of new dimension or press or, you know, the trip is hard for me to come by unless she's really a lot better than I think she is coming in this race.
Yeah, and it's a lot different too, having an outside post here in a 2-turn race than having the outside post there at Kentucky Downs. We got that long run up the backstretch to sort of get position. She's going to either have to go to get forward here, or she's going to have to take her back and try to save some ground. So we'll see how Frankie decides to play it. I liked her debut. Thought she ran well in that race. Really like her pedigree too. She's got the pedigree to get better with time and distance. You know, we'll see what she does here. I think the post is a real hindrance for her.
No doubt, quality pedigree there. Quality pedigree here on the favorite, 12, the 12 Time to Dream. Outside post, the biggest knock I could come up with this Daughter of Not This Time, other than the obvious price. Very hard to knock her debut effort at Saratoga. You know, Todd Pletcher doesn't necessarily win a lot with these kinds, going 2 turns on the turf, 2-year-old debuters. This one won for fun, and she didn't really get a setup that day, Mike. She just ran down the 2 speeds. Got more of a setup last time in the PG Johnson as we take a look here. And, man, I mean, for a filly, 2-year-old filly, she can flat out finish. I don't know if you have any knocks here other than the price.
No knocks other than the price, and I guess maybe the outside post, because again, they're just going to probably have to take her back here, and she's going to have to pass a bunch of horses to win this race. But I am not knocking this filly. Her debut, as you pointed out, it's not like it fell apart, and she also had trouble in that race getting clear on the final turn, and then she just stormed by those horses, and she ran even better in the PG Johnson last time. She destroyed those horses with a big finish. I mean, I think she's really good. We'll see if anybody in here can take her down.
Be interesting to see if so. 2 on the also eligible list that aren't impossible. You got Soloist, the 13, and then 14 Dinah. Dinah's the one cross-entered in the Miss Grio. Will have a tough post, but should appreciate the stretch out. Soloist has already gone the 2 turns twice. Give them a shot if they get in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think both of them are worth a look if you get in. And we've already talked about that juvenile fillies race at Kentucky Downs a few times, Scott. It was a closer's race, and Soloist was the one up there contesting it, and she was still around at the end. I thought she ran really well last time.
Yeah, they deserve to be in this field. Not sure exactly how they make those decisions at Keeneland. I would be interested to know. Maybe you do, but we got a couple of races where the some good horses were left out of the main body of the field. As we take a look at our selections here, and you're going to take the big swing here. I didn't want to take the chalk with number 12, Time to Dream, but I thought that the top side of this field was probably the ones to beat, although I wouldn't be shocked with anything. But you made a good case for number 3, Caroline, who hasn't done anything wrong thus far.
I'm just going to hope the post really works against the favorite here and leads to a tougher trip for her. So I'm just going to take a shot against her at a short price because I think there are too many interesting horses not to. I almost put your horse on top, Mackinac. I'm a huge fan, really like both of her races, but I bet Caroline last time in her turf debut, and I thought she ran, pretty well in there. I think she ran better than it looks on paper. She's going to be a price in here, Scott. I'm hoping for a different trip this time. I'm going to give her one more chance.
She's going to be a much, much bigger price than the horse you have for second, and I have on top Mackinac. Yeah. Looking forward to the Jessamine. Good luck if you're playing it.